Welcome to Library Connection. I'm so glad you've joined us today. It has always been one of my personal favorite library things to do, to interview an author. I'm appreciative of their talents and that they're able to put down words that create a faraway place to travel, another kind of lifestyle as young adult books are wont to do these days. And finally, I just enjoy getting inside a character's life and learning about what makes them tick. Joseph Copeland is an author, and I've recently met he and his lovely wife, and I wanted you, our audience, to get to know him as well. And so welcome, Joseph.
Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you. I always like to get started a little bit by allowing our audience to get to know you personally. And I think when they buy your book, they're a little bit more inclined to say, hey, I know him. I know this character a little bit. So if you would, how long have you lived here in Sylacauga?
I've lived here 18 years now.
Where did you come from?
From Enterprise, Alabama is my home. I was born in Aurora, Colorado. My father was in the Air Force, so we traveled all over the country.
Aha.
And finally settled in Enterprise. After many years, I started school in Enterprise when I was just starting middle school. I graduated from Enterprise High.
Aha, yeah. Well, that's not so awfully far away, is it?
No, just closer than I ever lived anywhere in my life.
Well, and being a child of someone who was in the Air Force, and traveling around so much, you get a lot more experience because they always tell writers to write about what you know. And so you have been a number of places and you know about them. You can write about them better.
Right. Yeah, I haven't enjoyed it. The only thing is we never were settled in one place for very long, so I didn't have a lot of time to develop friendships with people. So my mother insisted that I write, or not insisted, but urged me to write and draw, and just to occupy the time to fill the void.
Aha.
So I started at an early age drawing.
Plus, did you have siblings then?
Yes, I had my two sisters and brother. I was the youngest. So on these long trips that we'd take, my mother always made sure I had plenty of paper and pencil to occupy my time, because after all, my father did have to drive.
Sure.
Being the youngest.
Well, were one of them talented like you? I mean, if she urged you, was she a writer? Was she a drawer?
No. She played music.
Aha.
She was, and my oldest sister is also a musician.
Aha.
In the church. And
how did she know you could draw so well?
Well, I guess it started with the scribble game. And we would all be traveling, all of us kids. And what they would do, they would make a scribble on a sheet of paper. And they would urge me to make a character out of it. And we would do this for hours on end.
How nice.
So, even my daughter, she'll make a scribble now. And I'll make something out of it for her.
That's very good.
But it is, and it makes you think as well, what do you see in this thing? You can turn it any way you want to. And voila.
Come out with something. Well, that's a true talent, isn't it? A very, very good talent.
But after hours and hours of doing that, and plus maybe drawing something like that, and then making up a story to go along with it. Well, this particular dog.
Very good. Well, what kind of work did you pursue then as an adult?
I was an estimator for structural steel companies.
Oh my goodness, far removed from the literary world.
Other than writing specifications was really all the writing I'd ever really done professionally or as a job.
Yeah. And where did you go to college then?
I dabbled at college. I'm pretty much more of a on-hands learner.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and sometimes that's the best, isn't it? Experience is the best teacher, as they tell us sometimes. But what inspired you to write this book? And I got to ask you, because I know people do these books with pen names. Where in the world did Fish O'Toole come from?
A friend of mine back in the 70s gave me that name because my birth sign is Pisces. So he started calling me Fish O'Toole. Well, I like the name, so I started using it as a pen name.
Very good, because in his book that we have sitting up here, it says Fish O'Toole's Adventures at Professor Pep's Academy. And so that's what brought it up. He does not put his name, Joseph Copeland, on the front of the book, but he puts Fish O'Toole, and I thought that was rather unusual. You and I met down at Weogufka at we actually met at the library, and you went down to Farm Days with other authors down there. Did you see any value to that at all? Meeting with
Yes, ma'am. I met Cabot Barden and his wife, Libby. I enjoyed meeting them. He and I had a lot of things to talk about in common. And a couple of others, a lady named Sharon Hardy and Nikki Harris.
Right.
I was able to meet, and I enjoyed meeting them.
And I know that from there was talk of a Writers Guild being formed, and I believe they've had their first meeting, a get-together kind of meeting. Do you see some benefit to having a Writers Guild locally? What would be one of the things that you think you might get out of such?
Well, I think I could get a lot out of just mixing, mixing with them and learning about their styles and procedures that they go through, and sharing mine with them.
Well, and authors too, don't you think that sharing, if someone knows of an author that likes your particular style of book, for instance, and all of that kind of thing, they were telling me that there are 2 Writers Guilds currently. There's one in northern Alabama up around Huntsville, and there's a Writers Guild down in the southern part of the state, somewhere I believe around Mobile or whatever. And that central Alabama did not have such, and you would be a wonderful part of that should you choose to join it.
But I most definitely am.
Yeah, and I think that's a very good kind of thing. Let's talk then about the book, since that is one of the main reasons why we are here. Adventures at Professor Pep's Academy. How did you come up with the title, for instance?
Well, we titled the book after we had written the stories, or had an accumulation of stories, because all the books are based on the children being at an academy, on a campus, living on a campus, going to school on the campus. And so finally we just had to think of a name of this place they were at, so that's what it ended up being.
And it really would be a wonderful book for that child who's able to read and wants a chapter book, since there are 3 particular stories in here. Tell us a little bit about the content of the book. In other words, give us a mini book report, so to speak. Could you do that?
Glad to. There are 3 stories in this book. The first one being the poetry contest, and it's about a young man named Fuzzy, who you see down here, had a mishap on the football field and embarrassed himself, and so he ended up getting in a library competition, or not a library competition, a poetry contest at the Library Day celebration to try to redeem himself. In the second story, The Nervous Au Pair, the boys have a musical group, and they're awful. They think they're good, but they're not. So this substitute au pair, who's there on the academy, lends the boys a hand, as she is a famous cellist, and so helps them out some. Actually gets the music where people can listen to it. The third book is The Big Box, and the boys have listened to the Chicago Cubs playing and getting and working up their way to the playoffs. And they said, wouldn't it be great if we could get to Chicago and go to the playoff game? So they get in a little trouble along the way, but they don't make it to the playoffs, but they sure gave it a try. So that's basically, that's it in a nutshell. And in volume 2, we're going with the same format with 3 books, 3 stories. And I'm glad to say this book has 34 illustrations. Right now, Yemi and I were talking the other day, and we've got over 80 illustrations.
Oh, nice. Very
so
nice.
It'll be a little more illustrated than this one is, although this one has a good amount of pictures.
Mm-hmm. Well, in looking over and reading a part of the book, the thing I enjoy, this, you can see the type of illustrations. I think the children
That's
truly...
Professor Preps and his wife, their cat.
Their cat.
That's 8-Ball's grandfather.
Oh,
Cue Ball.
okay. The thing about it is I believe that children will truly enjoy. It's a lot of color in it, and also it's a kind of a cartoon type of character, and children thoroughly enjoy that. I would say, would you not, that this is probably for the reader who's just really gotten a good grasp of reading. It's not written in a language that's difficult for a reader, and the stories are short enough, don't you think?
Exactly. That's why we did that, is to make them short enough to keep the child's interest and in a simple enough reading form. For younger children, I think it's a great book for the parents to read to them and share with the pictures.
Well, would you say, Tip, that this is more of a boy or a girl's book, or do you think it really, the appeal would be to both?
The appeal is definitely for both. Each story contains boys and girls doing things together and separately. Mm-hmm. For example, the big box, the girls had, where the big box came from is that they ordered a Little Miss oven and kitchen set. So
yeah,
that's
I don't want to give it all away because we want people to buy the book. But this would be, honestly, don't you think, a nice Christmas gift to give that child that, they love to read and all of that. But the stories themselves, because they are individual stories, they can read it and lay it down and pick it back up at another time and read and not have lost the gist of the whole story type of thing. So yes. I think that's the beauty of having what we would call novellas, isn't it? Mm-hmm. They're novellas. Type of story in here. And do you have plans then? You said a second one's in the works?
It is done. We just haven't published it yet, and
Is it at the Professor's Academy
yes,
also?
It'll all be the same. Volume 3 is also in the works, as they say. It's in development at this time. We also have another book, a standalone book, that will not be a Professor Preps. It's more of a younger child's book. A lot of colorful illustrations and a more magical story. It's about 8-Ball.
Oh, okay.
It's called The Nurse Kitty, and it'll be coming out eventually. Take about 8-Ball.
Yeah. He's down there. Well, tell me, and we always ask this of a writer, what in the world inspired you to this subject and all of that? I mean, what was the inspiration for this whole thing?
I don't know.
You don't know where it came
started
from,
writing.
Huh?
Well, telling stories about 8-Ball, just telling them out loud. And Yabby told me, why don't you write these down? They're pretty good stories.
And where'd you make them up for your
the other characters
daughter?
just developed and all. Pardon me?
Did you make them up for your own children?
No, I would tell my daughter stories, stories, fairy tale stories and all, but I never really made up that many. Of course, I had lived a lot on them, did all the voices and all that.
Yeah. Well, when we return after our commercial break today, we are going to be talking some more with Joseph Coleman. We'll be talking some more about his Copeland. There I go. I'm sorry. I get something like that and it's hard to quit. But anyway, we're going to be talking about him as an author of this new series of books. And I think you're going to want to hear what he's got planned for the future. So please join us in just a few moments after this break.
10 big years. Celebrating 10 big years of smiling customers at Toyota of Sylacauga. Construction continues with fresh new inventory arriving daily, and we need to make room.
We are your Sylacauga RAV4 connection. Like a brand new 2014 RAV4. 0 down, 0% financing, and $1,000 cash back.
We're your small town dealer with big time savings. So come see us and get ready to smile. Online 24/7 at toyotaofsylacauga.com.
Wright Tire and Service on West Fort Williams in Sylacauga is the right place for you. We carry the right tires for your car. Goodyear, Cooper, General, Michelin, and lots more. Wright Tire and Service is also your right choice when it comes to all of your automotive service needs. Whether it's an oil change, front end alignment, brake service, or air conditioner work, make the right choice the first time and stop by Wright Tire and Service, Sylacauga.
In Central Alabama, 9,100 kids face going to bed hungry tonight. Hunger doesn't take a day off. There are kids right here, right now, that don't know where they'll get their next meal. Join Alabama Childhood Food Solutions and help put an end to childhood hunger in Central Alabama. Make a difference. Donate today, by mail or online, to help ACFS feed hungry kids. There's no better time to share than now. Their next meal could come from you.
There's one pharmacy that's so much more than just a drugstore. That's Marble City Pharmacy in Sylacauga. From cards for all occasions, a huge selection of gifts, even great exclusive Alabama and Auburn stuff, all kinds of household needs, and a complete selection of over-the-counter meds and supplies that you would expect. We are more than just a drugstore, but with our friendly, courteous staff and all of our great extras, we ought to be your drugstore. We're Marble City Pharmacy in Ogletree Plaza.
Welcome back to Library Connection. I'm talking today with Joseph Copeland, and he is writing books under the pen name of Fish O'Toole. We have been talking about his first book that he's got here, and you told us earlier that you have plans for more. And you are retired now, yes, right? And so you have this time to do this. And you're very, very good at drawing. We have a couple of his drawings here, his book, of course, and then his characters. You see his characters down here. What's the cat's name again?
8-Ball.
The cat is 8-Ball. I'm sorry, I thought the little blonde boy was 8-Ball.
Oh, that's Fuzzy.
That's Fuzzy.
Fussy.
Fussy?
Fuzzy. Fussy, F-U-S-S-Y.
Oh. Okay. All right. And anyway, he has several of the characters, but he's an excellent artist. And I'm going to tell you what, I think that is probably one of the strengths of your book, because so many people will write an excellent story and they don't have anyone to illustrate it. I have a friend in Indiana who's writing books, and that's his major concern. He can't seem to find an artist who wants to draw what it is he's trying to convey in his stories. He's a boy from West Virginia, and he writes about boyhood in West Virginia, and he just feels like at times. So do you find that being your own illustrator, you can make the story come alive by, if you write out the words, you can illustrate it, make it be more visible and get your message across?
Oh, definitely. I couldn't imagine someone else drawing it, doing it, not that it wouldn't be good, but doing it, what I see up here is the old page, you know, I just...
Did you have lessons to draw?
No, I never.
Never had a lesson? It's just a God-given talent, huh?
Yes, I suppose that. Thank you.
Yeah, I know you said earlier that your mother encouraged you to do that when you were small, but
Yeah.
boy, you really are good at it.
Well, thank you.
Very, very good. And your characters, the picture over here, is that a self-portrait of you in the middle?
Yeah.
That's good. That is very, very good. Well, your wife helps you with this. In what capacity does? And her name, tell folks her name. She's sitting here looking at us.
Her name is Yebby.
Yebby.
We call her Yebby. Her name is Yvonne. But from when she was just a baby, an aunt nicknamed her Yebby. So she'd been known as Yebby all of her life.
Uh-huh. And you even named a character in your book here, Yebby.
Mm-hmm. That's Yebby T right there.
Uh-huh.
Yebby T.
And did she object to having her name put in this book?
Yes, at first she did. But she could see that I wasn't going to change it, and as the characters developed and more stories came along, she began to love the characters as much as I did, so she said, accepted it.
Well, it's a most unusual name, and I think people would
I've never known
remember.
too many.
I've never run into another one. Yebby, Yebby is her name. What capacity does she occupy truly as far as the book goes? You draw the pictures, you write the words. Does she help you write any of the words?
Yes, she helps me with the story, ideas on the pictures, and does all the editing, which as we've learned from this, is a lot of work. And the way the pictures, I draw them all on about a 9x12 sheet of paper, and she shrinks them and moves them about to fit the text. Mm-hmm. And that's a lot more work than I thought it would be. So we have learned a lot from this.
And you had self-published this particular book.
Yes.
You didn't submit it for?
We never submitted to a publishing firm.
Right.
Not with this book. However, a friend of mine who has been in the magazine publishing business for years suggested self-publishing. Mm-hmm. And so she helped us along with that. Her name is Pam Crumpler. And also, in talking about learning a lot about this book, I'd like to thank the people that we got to help us proofread. That is Mrs. Jerry Giddens of Sylacauga, B.J. Lathan of Huntsville, and my nephew, Philip Heath, out in Amarillo. And they did a marvelous job, and each one of them found things in the phrasing and and punctuation, especially. Even though Yebby and I had read it so many times ourselves, there were still things that we didn't see.
Right.
So their help was very helpful.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is the kind of thing that people who've always had the desire to write a book need to know about, that it is helpful to have proofreaders. It's very, very helpful. I know we've had folks on here, and you know too, that you've met people that they want to put their book down and they'll get them self-published, but they haven't had proper editing, and they haven't had those people look for punctuation and things. I find myself, when I'm reading, oftentimes doing that very thing. I'll find a word and I'll think, really what they should have written here was thus and so. And I know that if you don't do it properly, there's something, it takes away from the integrity of the book itself, don't you think?
Yes, that's why I'm so grateful for everybody's help. Yebby, with her editing, and I was just amazed because I thought they were done. I'm done.
Yeah.
I was far from done. But with their help and all this, it all came together great, and I'm very proud of it.
Well, I think you have reason to be, because it's a very readable and very fun book to read, and I think children will thoroughly enjoy it. That is your audience, and I think you'll enjoy it. And I think as an adult, it will be fun for you to sell them to parents and get their reaction back from it. Where do you hope to be able to place these for sale so folks can get them?
For right now, Well, they can order them online on Amazon.com, and we have books available here in town if they wanted to contact us and get.
And you do live here locally. Is it in
Yes,
the
ma'am.
phone book so folks could call you?
No, there's not too many Fish O'Toole's or Yebby in the phone book.
No.
I guess the best thing to do would maybe go online at.
Would you place them if a local person wanted to sell them for you? Would you be willing
Yes,
to do that?
what I'll tell you to do is, if you don't mind, contact Miss Live Oak, and she can get in touch with me or give you my numbers.
Yeah. Now I will tell our audience that we have have a copy of this at the library, and you can come and borrow it and see if you'd like to own it. But I think you'd enjoy it very, very much as a special book. And you were telling us earlier that you plan to do some more. How soon do you hope the next ones are? The next one, you said there are 2 more?
Yes, there's volume 2 and 3, plus the child's animal storybook that I had mentioned. And those are all forthcoming, but the volume 2 is ready to be it's still got to go through the editing, the proofreading stage, so it's.
And you had said that it had 80 pictures, and this one has how many?
34.
34 pictures, so
So
it's going to
be a lot of
for
pictures.
that. Yeah, it's going to be what we call a picture book, actually, at the
with a
library
story
for
included.
children. Yeah, with stories included, and I think you'll really like it. So that will make it a little bit thicker book, won't it?
A little
the second?
thicker, yes.
Yeah,
I believe it would.
That's really good. Well. What do you think the inspiration for the stories that you're doing, the next ones? Obviously, you had these ticking away in your brain, but where did the next 2 volumes come from? The inspiration for
Well,
them?
a lot of them just based on the characters themselves. For example, in volume 2, Fuzzy, who is constantly scheming and up to something, is called the Bumper Car Adventure, and he's too small to get on the bumper cars, but he manages a way to try to get on, and it's a fun story. The other one is the duck race, and everybody knows what a duck race. You take your little rubber duck and put it in the river. And of course, funny things, comical things happen along the way in that story. And the third one, the third story,
You'll think of it in a
give it a
minute.
minute.
Well, you write with a lot of humor, and that's an important component anymore. I think children need humor in their lives, and
With
one of
wholesome
the
humor.
you're not preaching to them. You don't have a moral to the stories or any of that. It's just a humorous adventure, as it's called, the Adventures at Professor Prep's Academy, and your next ones take place at the same place. So once they get introduced here, then I'm sure you're going to look forward to the next ones coming up for
so.
you. And I hope they're just a real unusual takeoff, and that people will pick them up and enjoy them. And I hope you'll do book signings. You said you did not have any book signings set up at the moment.
Not
but
at the moment, no.
we hope folks will come by and get you settled up to have one locally, so that folks can have it for Christmas. What a very nice thing
like
to
that.
give for a child for Christmas. And so we thank you so much for taking time out today. I know you've come a piece, and we thank you for being on Library Connections and for helping us by telling us about this neat story. We're always interested in authors who have a very neat story to tell. So again, Joseph Copeland and Yebby, thank you so very much for being here today. And folks, we thank you for watching Library Connections.